been so quiet at Lincoln Financial Field this season. Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham said he could hear the cars going by on the highway outside. Well, that all changes today as the Eagles will be playing in front of a home crowd of about 5,500 fans for the first time this season as they welcome reigning MVP Lamar Jackson and the 4-1 Baltimore Ravens. Looking like a gorgeous day in South Philly as we check the weather report brought to us by our friends at NBC 10. 63 degrees and sunny in October. A perfect day for some football in the fall. Thanks for joining us on the Kickoff Show presented by Axalta. I'm Amy Campbell, joined by Fran Duffy. And Fran, another exciting challenge for the Eagles this week against Lamar Jackson, one of the most dangerous players in the league.
No question, and obviously one of the most creative run games in the league. I think when you look at this offense with Baltimore, they do a lot of things that honestly most in the NFL do not do offensively. And then you look over to the defensive side, and you have one of the most creative blitz packages in all the NFL. So big task here ahead for this Eagles team on both sides of the ball.
And we're going to be breaking it down all show long. But let's not waste another second before heading back out to Lincoln Financial Field as the Eagles are warming up in that beautiful sunshine. The warm-ups brought to us by our friends at PA Lottery. And look at these fans. They could not be more excited to be here. Even just seeing them, Fran, seeing fans in the stands, it's doing something to me. It's making me so happy, so excited for today's matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when you look at the impact that these fans can have on this game, it certainly is not something to be underplayed. And we know the kind of energy that Eagles fans can bring, even if there's only a handful of thousand of them in there. I feel like they're going to bring some energy here today.
Yes, and we will continue to discuss that throughout the show as well. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. Of course, he's been called one of the most dangerous players in the NFL by several people on the Eagles staff and among the players. Jalen Hurts has been playing him this week at practice, giving the Eagles defense a really nice look. And a great quote, I thought, on the Eagles Insider podcast, Dave Spadaro had the man who does Ravens play-by-play on there, and he said Lamar is a magician with the ball. You think he's handing it off, and he's not. It changes the way you call a game, and it gives me a new understanding of what the defensive players go through. So you talk about a defense where everyone is going to have to be locked in and focused this whole game, Fran, in order to stop a dynamic offense with a player like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about assignment football. You have to do your job, and we've talked about that in the past with a team like San Francisco. We talked about it in Week 2 against the LA Rams. It's obviously a different packaging here with Baltimore because it's run game focused, but it's a lot of the same things. All of these guys at the second and third level of the Eagles defense have to do their job because you might think the ball's going one way, but it actually might be going the other, and if you take one misstep, then you look at the speed of Lamar Jackson, who's the fastest player on the field every time he steps between the lines. You look at Marquise Brown, Devin Duvernay owns all kind of state track titles in the state of Texas from when he was in high school. I mean, he went for 37 yards on the ground last week against Washington on the opening drive. So I think when you look at the speed that this offense has on the field, it's all based off their misdirection. If they can get you to take one bad step, they're going to make you pay.
All right, we'll take a look at the offensive starters here for the Eagles. And Fran, we know in terms of the offensive line, Lane Johnson not playing today, Matt Pryor not playing today, Jamon Brown will get the start at right guard, Jack Driscoll getting the start at right tackle. This is the fifth offensive line in 6 games for the Eagles against a very talented Baltimore front. The line has performed pretty well considering all of the circumstances, and so they've had a little bit of time to prepare for this weekend. But again, new faces slotting in there. Jamon Brown getting his first start in an Eagles uniform.
Yeah, to me, the big thing is, as you mentioned, it's the 5th different combination in 6 games. And even in those 6 games, there's been cycling of guys in and out of the lineup. Lane Johnson was in and out over the last couple of weeks. He's obviously going to be out today. So you're going to see Jack Driscoll. You're going to see Jamon Brown. We'll continue to see our third act here of Jordan Mailata at left tackle. So it's going to be another big challenge for this Eagles offense because it's not just tough on Carson Wentz. It's not just tough on the running backs. How about the lone starter there on the inside, and that's Jason Kelce at center because he's got 2 different guards here working on either side of him. So it's a big test for all those guys, especially when you look at the mental gymnastics they have got to undertake here against this Baltimore defense.
Yeah, a lot of mental gymnastics is a great way to put that there. Of course, as we're watching Carson Wentz warm up, he's going to have He's going to have a full plate today against a very talented defense that we'll break down a little bit later in the show. Let's look at the Eagles defense, though. We talked about some of the challenges they're going to be facing against a Ravens offense headlined by Lamar Jackson. And look, as we look at some of the guys who are playing today, Darius Slay is going to be clear. He was in the concussion protocol, so he's going to be there as well. Will Parks is back from injured reserve. Not sure how much of him we'll see today, but rookie Kayvon Wallace, who has been continuing to get more and more time in the secondary, he'll be there as well today, providing some more depth in that defensive backfield for the Eagles, Fran.
Yeah, Kayvon Wallace, his role right now is to play in the Eagles' base defensive package. So when they've got 3 linebackers on the field, Kayvon Wallace is the safety opposite Rodney McLeod. Now, that's big in this game because Baltimore, they play with a lot of 2 tight ends. They play with a fullback and Patrick Ricard. They want to run the football, so you're going to see plenty of base defense from the Eagles today, and that means you're going to see plenty of Kayvon Wallace. Now, that being said, we will see what the role is for Will Parks coming into today. Is he going to be the 3-down safety next to Rodney McLeod, or will he kind of split those duties with Kayvon Wallace? That's something I'll be watching for early in this game. And then you look at the defensive front. It doesn't matter who is listed as starter. You know, whether it's Malik Jackson or Javon Hargrave or Derek Barnett or Josh Sweat, all these guys are going to play. They're all going to be a big part. I think they've said on the TV broadcast over the last couple of weeks, the Eagles defense kind of look at it as an alpha group and a bravo group. It's not first team, second team. It's just we're shifting guys nonstop, and all these guys play pretty much an equal amount.
A couple other notes in the Eagles secondary. Avonte Maddox remains out. Linebacker Duke Riley also out today, as well as safety Marcus Epps. So, of course, all of those guys who are going to be playing today. Next man up, as always, and the Eagles just continue to rotate guys in and get creative. Let's talk about the Ravens run game. We've talked about Lamar Jackson. He's the leading rusher on the team. He's so dangerous, but this is a power running team with a solid offensive line. Of course, we know Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins has been making an impact as well. This is the rushing offense. This rushing offense is 3rd in the NFL, 160 yards per game. So going to be a challenge for the Eagles defense, especially up front, Fran.
Yeah, I think when you look at this offensive line, this is not a group that you would look at coming off the bus and say, man, these guys are just great in pass protection, but they are big, physical, mauling slugs in the run game. They want to get after you and push you backwards, and it fits the profile, right? Because this is not a team that wants to drop back and throw it 45, 60, 50 times a game. That's not their profile. They want to run the football. When you look at this offensive line from left to right, and they're pretty healthy coming into this matchup, that's how they want to come after you. So you've got the physicality of the offensive line. You've got arguably the best blocking tight end in football in Nick Boyle. You've got one of the best blocking fullbacks in the NFL in Patrick Ricard. You've got some physical running backs in Ingram and Gus Edwards, and you got the rookie J.K. Dobbins who offers some speed. And then the most electric playmaker at the quarterback position in the NFL, and that's Lamar Jackson. So when you factor all of that in, just from a personnel standpoint, that's the challenge with this Baltimore run game. Then you get into the shell game. That is their option read offense. And they're going to make you think that the ball's going right. It's actually going left. It might be going outside. It's actually going to go inside. They're going to really try and make everybody think at the first, second, and third level of the Eagles defense, really every single time they drop back.
Well, and that's what Jackson does so well, like we mentioned, fooling the eyes of the defense. And let's talk about who they have on the outside. Marquise Brown, of course, Hollywood Brown, in his second year in the league, he leads the team in receiving yards with 319. And then perhaps Lamar Jackson's favorite target, tight end Mark Andrews. This season so far, 18 receptions, 222 yards, and 5 touchdowns for Mark Andrews.
Yeah, certainly when they get into the red zone, Mark Andrews is a guy to kind of have circled, right, as the guy that he's going to be the target there for Lamar Jackson when they're throwing the football. To be honest, Lamar Jackson's been a little bit up and down as a passer this year. I think that's kind of limited them a little bit in terms of their overall offensive efficiency, but they continue to run the ball well, and he is just electric as a playmaker. So while he will have his share of misses, I think, Eagles fans, they're going to look at the struggles that Carson Wentz has had. I think you look at Lamar Jackson, he's had some of the same struggles. He's had some similar kinds of misses in the quick game, in the intermediate area. He's missed some deep shots down the field to open receivers. So while he's been a little bit up and down, the fact that they can be so dynamic and can be so quick strike, that kind of alleviates that a little bit. A lot of speed on the field with this Baltimore offense, because I mentioned Duvernay, Marquise Brown, Lamar Jackson, Miles Boykin, who's the other starter on the outside. That guy can fly, and he's he's a big receiver at 6'3", 6'4". So, they've got a lot of speed that you have to handle at the second and third level.
And as we're watching the Eagles warm up, we just had on screen Jalen Hurts, who's been playing Lamar Jackson at practice this week, and guys have given him a lot of compliments for the job that he has done impersonating the Ravens quarterback. Here's some guys who I know are excited to try to throw Lamar Jackson off his game today, the Eagles defense. Let's talk about the Eagles offensive attack here. Again, this is another wide receiver, the same wide receiver group we've had, but still without some of the guys that they've been without for a few weeks. Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey yet to make his debut, and Jalen Reagor still out. But let's talk about Travis Fulgum, the guy who stole the hearts of the nation last week with his performance, 152 receiving yards. Of course, Eagles fans should have known him from the week before, but if around the nation, he was the guy who was turning heads. Drew a lot of praise from teammates and especially Coach Doug Peterson this week, who said that he's the real deal and that he's in the mold of Alshon Jeffrey. He's lanky, he has good hands, and I think it was Jalen Mills who also said the way he gets up and catches the ball at the highest point, it makes it so hard to defend. He's a guy who is really making a name for himself in this Eagles offense, and another guy I'm excited to see today.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big receiver who plays big. He'll go up and attack the football. He plays above the rim, to steal a basketball term, right? He will go up and fight for the football. But what I was most impressed with going back and watching the film last week, Amy, was that he also won in the small game as well. He showed that ability to create his own separation. He did a nice job as a route runner, and the Eagles actually dialed some things up creatively for him in that game against Pittsburgh, where they were plays specifically designed to get Travis Fulgum open. So that shows, A, the faith that the coaching staff has in Fulgum to come through, and obviously the faith that Carson Wentz has in Travis Fulgum. And we saw the confidence that he has in him on multiple third down conversions last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you're hoping that the Eagles can kind of build on that moving forward. It's going to be another big test because Baltimore's got a very physical secondary. It's a very versatile secondary. He's not going to just see one corner. He's going to see multiple names across the field. But look, it's going to be really fun to continue to watch that rapport develop between those two guys.
Well, and when you talk about the Baltimore defense and their secondary, one of the things they do really well is punch the ball out and cause a lot of strips and forced fumbles. So ball security, of course, going to be a thing for the Eagles offense. I also want to touch on Miles Sanders because every week I'm watching his stats, and since his NFL debut this season in week 2, he is now third in rushing yards across the NFL with 319. He keeps climbing up that list. I think last week he was 5th, now he's 3rd, so climbing up that list. Again, really the key to the Eagles' run game, but his versatility back there as a pass catcher, providing creative options for Doug Peterson and the offensive play calling all around. I mean, just such a valuable part of this Eagles offense.
Yeah, I mean, roughly a quarter of those yards, so you said 319 yards, came on that one carry last week on 3rd and long on that 74-yarder, which was great. But I think really the Eagles have to be able to get something going consistently on the ground. You know, when they've had troubles offensively, it's been because they have not had success running the football on 1st and 2nd down, trying to get themselves into more manageable situations. They've got to be a little bit more efficient overall running the football. And that's not just on Miles or the rest of the running backs, the offensive line, which, as we've mentioned, you've had such a rotation of bodies down there in the trenches. They've just got to be a little bit more consistent. Baltimore is missing their stout nose tackle, Brandon Williams, another starting defensive tackle in Derek Wolfe here today. So, they're kind of missing some bodies there in that Baltimore front. We'll see if the Eagles can capitalize against a little bit of a short man Baltimore front. But that's going to be a big key for them, is to get him going on the ground. And then you mentioned the versatility is there in the passing game, but it just seems like he and Carson Wentz haven't been on the same page, and there's a lot of misses at all areas of the field. Sometimes on Carson, sometimes on Miles, sometimes just bad luck. But I think when you look at it, they have to get things going with Miles Sanders, because when things really hummed last year, it's because Miles Sanders was a factor not just in the screen game or on checkdowns, but in the intermediate area and vertically on wheel routes and seam routes, all getting him down the field. I think that would be really big for this offense as well.
That's a great point there. When things were really humming, Boston Scott was also very involved there in the running game. And look, I just have a feeling today, I'm crossing my fingers and I'm hoping, you get the spidey senses, but I am hoping that today is the day that we see the Zach Ertz explosion that we've been waiting to see. You talked about just he and Carson haven't quite been on the same page this season. I am feeling like today might be that day. I don't know. You just kind of feel like he's due for it. And a couple more notes on the Ravens defense here. They are they're allowing the NFL lowest amount of points, 15.2 points per game, and the number 5 rushing defense, number 18 passing defense, so a little bit more vulnerable in the passing game. So really also a great day to see a Zach Ertz explosion, if you're asking me. Thanks to our friends at PA Lottery for bringing us those warm-ups, of course, and we'll come back inside now since this is a home game. Our Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, is on site at the game, coming to us from the Fox Bet Lounge in Lincoln Financial Field. And Dave, fans are in the stands. What does this mean for the atmosphere at Lincoln Financial Field?
Look, I will tell you that for all of those fans who bought the cardboard cutouts, thank you very much. But the crowd for these first 2 games, a bit flat, a bunch of stiffs in the stands here at Lincoln Financial Field. I will tell you, I've walked around the outside, I've walked around the corridor, the concourse, main concourse. Fans understand how incredibly unusual this is, how unique this is, but there is a ton of enthusiasm. They will be heard today. The 5,500 or so fans and the 7,500 people who are here are thrilled to be here, wearing their masks, being safe, and I think injecting a lot of atmosphere. And here's what's really, I think people need to understand. For the players, their moms are in the stands, their dads are in the stands, their wives, their kids, their loved ones. And so that means something to them. So I think you'll see the Eagles play to the crowd more today, obviously, and I think they'll feel that emotion. I think that's something that's been missing in the first 2 home games here at Lincoln Financial Field.
That's a really great point, Dave, and it's something certainly we can keep an eye on here moving forward into the action. Take us through, what's your biggest storyline for us to watch here in this matchup?
Well, you've talked about it to a degree here, but I'm watching the Eagles offense, obviously a restructured offensive line again, against a Baltimore defense that has taken the football away in 18 straight games, longest streak in the NFL. We know how the turnovers have hurt the Eagles offense. What do they do today to get the ground game going? Fran, you mentioned it. They haven't run the football well on 1st and 2nd down. They've been playing behind the chains. Can they manufacture a physical, move the chains run game today and minimize their mistakes and reduce the giveaways? I think if they can do that, they can hang with Baltimore. If they can't, it's going to be very difficult.
Well, and Dave, of the 10 takeaways the Ravens have had this season, 7 of them have been on fumble recoveries or stripping the ball. So ball security, huge for Philadelphia today. What do you think this one all comes down to in the end for the Eagles today?
I think the key to the game is an Eagles defense that has been beleaguered, that has been pushed around, that is 27th in the NFL in red zone defense. How do they deal with Baltimore's misdirection, with Lamar Jackson's ball handling? People don't really consider just how good Jackson is hiding his intentions with the football, hiding the ball. Do the Eagles, who are shorthanded again at linebacker with Duke Riley down, TJ Edwards is down. The Eagles are going to have to go with some younger players perhaps here at linebacker. Follow the football. Make sure you set the edges, and don't let the misdirection of the Baltimore Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson beat you.
Absolutely. A big challenge. Should be an exciting game. Dave, we will check in with you after the game. Thanks so much.
All right, guys.
Okay, Fran, we've heard this week that players and coaches have said it's going to be an 11-man job on defense to stop Jackson. Dave touched on it. For you, what will it take for the Eagles to get the win today?
Yeah, and while it will be an 11-man challenge to stop Lamar Jackson, it will be an 11-man challenge to protect Carson Wentz against this blitzing attack of the Baltimore Ravens. And I think when you look at this blitz package, the big thing that stands out to me on film, Amy, they run cover zero blitzes more than anybody in the league. What is a cover zero blitz? That means you've got no safety in the deep part of the field. Now you've got the threat of anybody coming, and it's going to be an all-out blitz. This is what you call a cover zero pressure, an all-out blitz. 6 guys coming after the quarterback, 5 defenders in man-to-man coverage, no safety. So they run it more than anybody in the league, especially on 3rd down. And I think when you look at this Baltimore defense, the other thing that stands out, they will line up all their guys up on the line of scrimmage. You don't know who's coming, who's dropping. All of them are a threat. And if you only have 5 guys in protection, you can't block all of them. One of those guys is going to come free. I watched all of the sacks from this Baltimore defense this year and last year. An alarming amount of those sacks were on the quarterback, and not just against young quarterbacks, against veterans, guys that, Ben Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady, guys that have been around the block and have seen defenses. They're very creative. They're going to come at you from every angle, from every depth. They lead the league in blitzes from safeties, corners, slot corners. Eagles and Carson Wentz, they've got to be ready. It's a huge challenge. It will take the whole offense to keep Carson upright.
Yeah, a big challenge. And let me add this from NFL Next Gen Stats. The Ravens defense blitzes the highest percentage of any team in the NFL. Another big challenge for the Eagles offense. The second highest, that was the Steelers last week. So that's how tough this stretch is for this team. All right, for me, the formula is very simple to guarantee an Eagles win against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Start fast, get a lead. Lamar Jackson has yet to show that he can play from behind. He is 0-5 in his NFL career when he's trailing by 10 points. He is 0-5 when he is trailing at halftime. If you look at their lone loss this season to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs went up 27-10, and while the Ravens were in that game, they had the run game going in the second half, but Jackson was not able to get it done with his arm through the air. He only passed for 97 yards in the second half. So if you can limit the run game, Jackson and the other running backs, he is not quite able to get it done through the air playing from behind. That's the formula until proven otherwise. All right, so you know what we are going to be looking for today. Let's go back out to Lincoln Financial Field and check in with Mike Quick and Merrill Reese and see who they'll have their eyes on in today's matchup with the Ravens.
Thanks, Amy. It is an absolutely gorgeous day here at the Link. There'll be 6,000 fans here, and I long for the day that this place will bulge with 70,000. Mike, who is your Eagle to watch today?
Well, I think I'm going to watch Will Parks today. He's going to get his first action with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think they'll use him in a lot of ways. He's going to be on the back end of the defense. He'll be down in the box, kind of like what Malcolm Jenkins used to do, that sort of stuff. And I think he'll be important to the success of this team today.
My guy to watch is the wide receiver number 13, Travis Fulgum. The reason he's my guy to watch is because now he's no longer a surprise. The Ravens know he's coming, and you'll see great corners like Marlon Humphreys and Marcus Peters. So we'll find out how good Travis Fulgham is. Back to you, Amy.
I know both Mike and Merrill must be feeling so excited to not be so lonely in Lincoln Financial Field today, as about 5,500 Eagles fans will be in attendance for the first time this season. It's something the Eagles and particularly team president Don Smolinski have worked quite hard to make happen, with safety as the highest priority. In a special one-on-one interview this week from Pond La Hockey, Mike Quick sat down with Don Smolinski for more on the process and having fans back in the stands.
Hey, Don, thanks for coming on. I miss you, man. You know, usually 2 or 3 days out of the week, I get over to the stadium. We usually have a chance to chat a little bit, or over the NovaCare. What's it like over there now? Because you guys have done a great job of keeping these players safe.
I should say I have missed you as well, but it's going well. It's, you know, people are in a groove. We've adjusted to the new routine as we are apt to do, and I think overall we're making it work.
This has been a long time coming, but on Sunday you'll have a chance to get some fans in the seat. When you heard about that, seeing that Pittsburgh had fans last week, how excited were you, and what was the process then for you?
It was very exciting. A little bit of an exhale for the journey that had been traveled, and a quick moment of celebration, and then, you know, turned the page to start thinking really to get our team together. We had already been working in anticipation of that moment. And so now I was getting excited to be able to call them to say all that hard work we've been putting in, now we get to execute. So it was a good moment.
Very nice. I've heard a couple of different numbers. Could you tell me, what is it, 5,500? Is it 7,000? And how did they come about that number?
Yeah, so the total number that we're allowed to have in the building is 7,500. And that 7,500 is the cap that the governor put on based on capacity. And so that includes the players, it includes the coaches, it includes all the working staff. So it includes, you know, you and Merrill and McPeak and your team, and it includes the network,
right?
The network personnel, and includes all of our game day workers. So the number of fans will be somewhere between 5,500 and 6,000. But we're trying to get as many and as close to 7,500 as we can.
You know, I know that watching you over the past couple of years, you like to get out and mingle with the fans a little bit. Sometimes you're in the stands or at the pregame tailgate parties. How is that going to be different for the fans, this whole game day experience now?
Yeah, so there will be no tailgates, and so I might have to just adjust my positioning. So instead of walking the lots, maybe I'm standing there in the Pepsi Plaza waving to people or giving them a thumbs up as they come in. For fans, they won't be able to tailgate, and obviously they'll have to wear a mask from when they step out of their car until they step back into their car. But they'll come through the gates and they'll see all the signage. I think we've put up over 12,000 pieces of signage for social distancing, wearing a mask, wash your hands. They'll come in, go to their seats, watch the game, and then return to the car. So it's a little different, it's a little truncated, but they're inside Lincoln Financial Field.
So, and what should the fans be mindful of? How can they help you in this process where you're trying to make sure that everyone stays safe? What can they do?
I think the fans can help us just by, we call it just by being an eagle, right? By leading by example, wearing the mask, wearing it properly, wearing it over your mouth and nose, maintaining social distance, washing your hands, just taking the actions that they can control and demonstrating success and showing that, we're Eagles and we're in Philadelphia and this is how we do it. When we do it, we're leading the way. And, hopefully that can send a positive message, not only for maybe to have more people inside Lincoln Financial Field, but also to demonstrate to our government officials both in Harrisburg and at the city that maybe more businesses will have a similar opportunity.
All right, last week the Eagles played in front of a small crowd for the first time this season on the road at Pittsburgh. And while 5,500 fans may not seem like a lot of fans, here's offensive lineman Jordan Mailata on what the crowd noise was like in Pittsburgh.
For the most part, you could hear the cadences, but there were a couple times when like on third downs, it was getting pretty loud and rowdy. A couple times I was like, "There's no way 5,500 fans could cause this amount of noise," so it was kind of fishy. But it just shows how fans can influence a play and influence the situation, and I'm hoping that our fans can bring it.
I love how he says it's fishy, like they were doing something sneaky. Fran, let's talk about the impact of crowd noise on the game. There's the emotional juice that it provides, of course, but also a home team can impact the actual execution of both teams.
Yeah, and I thought that Dave did a great job of breaking that up earlier. When you look at guys like Rodney McLeod and Jalen Mills and Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, those guys are consistently asking the fans to bring the noise, especially on third down, right? You always hear them or see them waving to the crowd. If it was not important to them, they wouldn't be doing that. They've got plenty of other things they could be doing before the snap. So that crowd noise is absolutely pivotal against an offense that, look, I mean, the more you can try and impact Lamar Jackson in that offense, the better. The Eagles fans, they can really bring it to you today and really impact the game.
Of course, let's not undersell the emotional boost that Eagles fans provide. The best fans in the league. I'm saying it. We're all saying it. All right, we are going to take a quick break. On the other side, we will share our final thoughts on the Eagles-Ravens. Stay with us. The Philadelphia Eagles and Axalta Coating Systems are building a roster of all-pro teachers. Go to philadelphiaeagles.com/Axalta All-Pro Teachers to learn more. There's number 11 getting ready for the big game today. High knees, I'm feeling the energy. Love it. And big play Slay will also be here today. He was questionable coming into this game, but has cleared concussion protocol. A huge piece of the Eagles defense. Everybody's so excited. The fans are going to get to see a great game today. All right, Fran, it is officially 15 minutes to kickoff of the Ravens-Eagles. People should know by now what that means. And if you don't at home, Fran, let them know.
Yeah, I mean, we're 15 minutes from kickoff, and the best way to spend those 15 minutes is by saving 15% or more by switching to Geico. It's easy as that.
Quite simple. The best way to spend that 15 minutes, switching to Geico. All right. As always, we'll be right back here as soon as the game ends to break it all down. Ike Reese will be joining us for instant analysis. We will hear from coach and players live. Do not miss it. For Fran Duffy and our team, I'm Amy Campbell. We will see you on the other side.